Okay, what's good everyone? It's MasterJakeStudios. I'm here with after an extended absence from Let's Read. We're back now for It's a Cold and It's a Broken Shronald fanfic. So, let's get right into this. Shrek was sitting in his house one cool evening, enjoying the peacefulness of his swamp. Thank God all those fairy tale creatures had left months ago. He didn't know how he'd avoid going crazy if they were still there. The truth is, he wasn't really enjoying that serene calmness, no matter how much he would have before he married Fiona. Oh God, Fiona! He still couldn't believe that she was gone. That horrible Farquaad. Shrek still remembered the glistening of crimson on sharp silver as Fiona fell to the ground. Farquaad standing over her with a look of pure evil in his eyes, driven by envy. Shrek could do nothing but stand by and watch as his shock caused him to freeze. The silence only served as a reminder to him that she wasn't here, stirring up antics with Donkey or talking to him about her day. He missed those days, but he knew he had to get over them, no matter how painful it was. He wished it was his gut that blade had plunged into, but he knew it couldn't have been so because Farquaad wanted to see him suffer, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally too. The bastard. Even Donkey had left after Fiona died. Shrek couldn't blame him, it just wasn't the same without her. He left with his dragon girlfriend. That's real, I don't know why I'm laughing at that. Shrek still wasn't able to see how that relationship could ever work. I mean, how did they... Never mind. Now, the dark of his house was beginning to seep into his mind. That darkness just wouldn't leave him alone. Day in, day out, the edges of his mind were always shrouded with darkness. Shrek couldn't remember when he'd stopped fighting it. He heard someone yell, "Shrek is Drek!" What? Somewhere outside his house. Shrek sighed. He wished everyone would just leave him alone. Shrek yawned and stretched. He decided he'd better get to bed. Just as he was about to turn out his light, he realized that he had to go to the bathroom. So he went outside and walked over to his outhouse.
Nice and subtle.
As he finished his business and left the outhouse, he stopped before embarking on back to his house. He noticed someone walking along the path near his swamp. He could see them from here. This person was too close to his swamp. Were they the one that had yelled, "Shrek is Drek"? Shrek knew he had to get that person out of his swamp. So he ran down and was just about to shout, "Get out of my swamp!" when the man turned around. Oh dear, the first thing Shrek noticed about the man's face was the eyes. He looked into those piercing, squinty blue pools and almost felt like he was falling right into them. "Can I help you?" the man asked. Shrek noticed the man's mouth that looked like an ass crack opening as his wheezy voice came out of it. Shrek had never felt this way before.
Not even about... Oh my god. I mean, I knew, but it's still so...
He was so lost in this man's bright orange skin and comb silk hair, comb over so that he wasn't able to respond. "Look, Green Man, I need to make America great again. If you don't want anything from me, either go away or you could help me," said the man. Help him? Shrek wanted nothing more than to do exactly that at the moment, anything that would get him closer to the man. He still couldn't speak, so he nodded. "Good. My name is Donald Trump. I'm running for president." Shrek gained a little bit of his voice back, so he croaked awkwardly, "You've got my vote." "Well, that's good to hear. Now, Shrek, come with me."
Oh, I'm sorry. It's Oh no, it's not. I confused Donald with Donkey. You can kind of see that, maybe.
Donald leads Shrek away from the swamp, and somehow Shrek doesn't even care that he's leaving his precious swamp behind. This strange man had come into his life and enticed him. They walked for a while before arriving at a wooden lodge in a clearing in the woods. "This is it," said Donald. "We're here." You live here?" asked Shrek, starting to come to his senses. "Well, no, this is actually a vacation home. I just had to escape the Mexicans, you know?" Shrek didn't know, but he wanted to impress Donald, so he nodded. "Shrek, let's go inside." Shrek let Donald lead him inside the lodge. It was a fairly small place, and as soon as they walked through the door, Shrek's nose was hit with a very pleasant aroma. It smelled of slugs, mud, and rotten things. He gasped gently. It was already like heaven. The place seemed so homely and comforting, he almost wished he could live here. There was a fire going in the fireplace, providing ambient lighting and nice warmth. In fact, that was the only lighting in the whole entire lodge. This was the only place that had ever really felt like home since Fiona died. This man, this mystery, this enigma had provided him with a home away from home. "So, Shrek," said Donald, breaking Shrek's train of thought, "tell me a bit about yourself." Donald pulled him onto the couch as he answered,
"Well, I like swamps. I'm a pretty private person."
No, I mean, I want to know about you. Not just what you like. What are your fears? Did anything traumatic ever happen to you? Lost a loved one? I want to know the real you." Shrek blushed and hoped it was too dark in the room for Donald to tell. He thought for a moment. Should he tell him about Fiona? He'd only just met the guy. No. Even though Shrek had only met Donald that day, he felt a connection that he didn't even feel with Fiona. He knew he could trust him.
"Well, I did lose my wife a few months ago. Have you ever met Farquaad?"
Shrek asked. "No, I haven't."
"Good. He was the man that killed her. He's evil. You're lucky that you never met him."
"Shrek, you're not with Farquaad now. I would never treat you like that." Shrek's face grew even redder, which must have been a weird sight paired with his green skin. "Listen, Shrek, I don't know what it is, but I feel like I really know you, even though we only just met. Do you feel it too?" Shrek nodded. He definitely felt it. Shrek didn't know what came over him or Donald, but suddenly their lips slammed into each other's like a passionate mouth fight. The connection was there now more than ever, and both of them could feel it. Donald pushed Shrek onto his back and leaned over him, kissing him more. Now, I'm not going to go into detail, but let's just say it was a very Shreksual experience. They both fell asleep in each other's arms afterwards. Shrek woke up the next morning and Donald was gone. For a moment, a wave of panic washed over him, but then he heard Donald's soothing voice in the other room and relaxed a bit. Wait, who was he talking to? It sounded like he was on the phone. Shrek decided to listen to the conversation so he didn't interrupt something that might be important. "Yes, I know," said Donald. "Of course it wasn't serious. No. Look, I just did it so I could get his vote. Let's be honest, Shrek is one of the most influential people in America. If he voted for me, imagine how many votes I would get. It would skyrocket. It's not like I love him or anything. You're the only one for me. Sonic! Dun dun dun!" Wait a minute. He was just faking it? Just to get a stupid vote? Shrek remembered the gleam in Donald's eyes when he said Donald had his vote. He thought nothing of it at the time, but now Shrek barged into the kitchen where Donald was. "That was all fake!" Shrek yelled, tears streaming down his face. "Well, Shrek, No, I don't want your excuses, laddie." "I don't understand why." "You don't understand! Donald, that was the realest,
most meaningful thing in my life, and it meant nothing to you.
Donald said nothing.
It was all just to get my vote. Well, you don't have it anymore.
Heartbroken, Shrek put all his clothes back on and started heading out the door. "Wait, Shrek!" Donald called after him. Shrek turned, tears still clouding his vision. "No," he said, "it's all ogre now." And then he turned back and left forever. As Shrek walked back to his swamp, rain poured down and the song Hallelujah started playing. Shrek wondered how Donald could ever do that to him. All the while, he'd been in a relationship with Sonic the Hedgehog. Shrek arrived back at his swamp. The same idiot from before called out, "Shrek is Drek." Shrek was too tired to deal with him anymore. He stepped inside his house and weakly closed the door behind him. As soon as the door was closed, Shrek leaned back against it, fell onto his knees, sobbing his eyes out. Donald was in his lodge, feeling miserable. He knew he would never get Shrek's vote now. He sighed.
And would you believe that was part 1 of 2 in this wonderful story? It's a cold and it's a broken Shronald fanfic. Part 2 is called Forgiveness. So if you want to hear part 2 of this fanfiction, check the link in the description, or hope that Tale of the Toaster gets Master Jake Studios in the chap's Secret Santa again next year. Ta-ra.